All right, so how's everybody doing today?
Good.
That's good. I think that was James that answered me there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So today I'm going to go over some of the goals that we have for this lab, both this lab course in general, as well as this specific week's lab. I'm going to be giving you these goals to sort of serve as motivation for why we're trying to do what we're doing here. So I'm going to try and motivate you guys a little bit to understand why this class is important, why it'll help you out in the future. And then after that, I'm going to lead a little bit of a discussion on what we did last week and what sort of things we could have taken away from last week. And then I'm going to go over some of the stuff for today and this week's lab. I'm going to be going over some of the tools you might need to work with the data that we're going to be working with for this week. If you guys have any questions or thoughts or anything like that, you can use the chat and I'll try and keep an eye on the chat as best I can. Or you can unmute yourself at any time and you can speak to me through your microphone. I will say, I think my headset's giving me a little bit of issues recently. And in the last section that I was just teaching, there was a brief period of time where I could not hear anybody speaking. So if you're trying to say something and I'm seemingly ignoring you, just blow up chat and hopefully I'll be able to see that something's wrong. I promise I'm not trying to purposefully ignore anyone in this class. All right, so why are we here? What are we doing? Why is Physics 2000 lab important? So big picture goal, what we're trying to accomplish in this lab is not necessarily going to be understanding physics concepts. While everything we do will be through the view of physics, meaning that we're going to be working with physics equations and physics concepts throughout this course. The goal isn't necessarily to get you guys to know and understand those concepts intensively. That is going to occur in your lecture. In this lab, we're attempting to instead build skills for you guys to use in other science classes and research that you do, or if you go into engineering, skills that will serve you in your career. So these skills that we're trying to help you build are not skills that are focused on physics. This isn't physics specific skills. They're skills you can take to any other science field that you want. A lot of you guys are bio majors or chemise majors or chem majors. So the skills you'll learn here, you can take with you to those other areas of science. So that's why we're here, and that's going to be our goal for this semester. It's just building up these different skills. So what are some of these skills that we are trying to build up? Well, the first I want to talk to you guys about is the ability, the skill to work as a group, and specifically the ability to work as a group in this online environment that we seem to find ourselves in. If the last few months have really taught us anything, it's taught us that we are not really all that well equipped to work in an online environment. So the university has kind of decided that, hey, this is a great opportunity for us to teach you guys and to show you guys and to give you guys experience working as a group in this online environment. So there is a reason, it's not arbitrary that I'm asking you guys to work in a group. It is to help build this skill and to help build this skill, even if we hope that we'll never be put in this sort of situation again. So working as a group is a hugely important skill that we hope that you guys take away from this lab. And as part of that working in a group, we're going to start assigning group roles. And today, part of what we're going to be doing is reviewing these group roles and making sure everyone has this structured the structured role in their group for every week. These structured roles will help you develop skills that are necessary for different positions that you might face in your careers. So some of you might become managers, and time management skills are important there. So time management skills is kind of one of the things that are built into these group roles that we have you do. Some of you might become take on more leadership positions. So all of the stuff that we're kind of designed this lab around is designed to help develop different skills, such as these group working skills. Another skill that we want you guys to develop is the ability to keep a detailed notebook. So in every science field, you're going to see researchers keeping detailed lab notebooks. So it's a skill that's worth investing time in developing. And if you guys get really good at being able to keep lab notebooks, it's one of those things that helps out tremendously in keeping yourself organized and keeping all of your research basically in order. So notebooks are incredibly important across all scientific fields. Lab notebooks often serve as things like legal documents, so there is actual importance in keeping a good notebook. So that's kind of what our goal, another one of our goals are for this semester. So every week you're going to be turning in your lab notebook instead of a typical lab report. So many of you guys might be familiar with other science labs where every week you had to write out some sort of detailed report on what you did. And the reason why we don't want to focus necessarily on lab reports and instead focus on lab notebooks is because reports differ a little bit from field to field. And you'll see that writing intensive subject in your guys' specific field somewhere down the road in your major. However, lab notebook skills are something that's common across all different areas of science. So we're really trying to appeal to you guys here, not as physics students, but as science students. We're trying to build this course so that you can take away what you learn here to whatever other courses you're going to take. Does that make sense? Is there any questions about anything that I just said?
No, that makes sense.
Awesome. So let's talk about specifically this week and last week's experiment, experiment 1. What kind of skills specific to this experiment do you think that you've learned or you've developed or you've gotten a little bit better at doing? What is a good skill from experiment 1 over last week?
Time management.
Time management, that's an excellent skill. Being able to understand that you only have so much time to do something and making sure you get everything done in a specific order. So that's an excellent skill. But let's think about specific to our experiment that we were doing. What experiment, what were we working with?
We're working with spreadsheets.
Excellent. So spreadsheets is a skill that we were focusing on for the last week, getting you guys comfortable using these. And spreadsheets are important because they help us deal with large amounts of data, right? It helps us make quick calculations. It helps us graph things. We went over a lot of this in the first week introduction. Spreadsheets is one of those solid skills that if you guys become proficient at it, it's something to include in your resume. And it's something employers look at pretty closely. If they see an employee that's proficient in spreadsheets, that tells them a lot about the student's previous experience and their education. So becoming proficient with spreadsheets will help your employability, and it'll help you deal with all of the data that you're going to take throughout your career. So we were dealing with data last week, right? And one of the skills necessary when dealing with data is the collection of data, right? And not this week, but next week, you will be actually collecting data. But this week, our data collection was done through through crowdsourcing all of that information, right? So all of that data came from different people, right?
Yes.
All right. So we have all of this data coming from different people and crowdsourcing this data. Was there an issue that you guys saw that might have occurred because of this method of collection?
We had a lot of different units, and some were not even labeled with their units.
Absolutely, for that distance column, right?
Yeah, we had a variation of either there was units used and then there was not any units used, and I had trouble organizing some of it on one of the columns to put them in order, because it would put some of them in order and then it would start over for those with a different unit. So it got chaotic real quick.
Yeah, so the issue there comes from allowing everybody to input their own data and allowing them to choose how to input their data. If you guys remember, I hope you guys all filled out that form. But if you remember, it specifically asked for the distance in kilometers. So whenever we crowdsource data, we have to deal with these issues of the accuracy of the data. How much can we actually trust this data that's coming in? We had a lot of misreported data or data that was answered kind of in an incorrect fashion that was in that data set. And we had to make the call on what to do with it. And in this lab today, you're going to have to make a lot more of those calls on what data do we keep, what data do we throw away, what can we trust and what can we not trust. So when you're going through these data collection processes, whether it's through a crowdsourced method like what we did last week, or whether in future weeks it's going to be, or whether in future weeks when it's going to be more about you guys collecting data, there's always going to be issues that come up in that data collection process. So this is a skill you're going to develop in how to collect data, how to understand when data is good or when data might be a little bit worse. Other skills are like the organization and representation of data. So, you know, how do we organize this data? Was this data organized in a way that you thought made sense, or is there a better way to do things? Is there a better way to represent data than what we did previously? So these are all skills that you're going to be building. And I'll talk to you guys more next week. I'll have a little bit of a discussion beforehand about data representation and data organization. But those are kind of what the goals of this lab are, to get you guys comfortable with spreadsheets and to get you guys comfortable working with data. So are there any questions about that? Any thoughts, comments, concerns? All right. If not, then I'm going to go ahead and jump into some of the stuff that you might find useful for today's lab. If you guys want to open up on your computer the data sheet from last week, the one with all the student data and the temperature data, you can go ahead and follow along with the stuff I do, and it might help out. I'll give you a few seconds, and I'll also share my screen with all right, so experiment modules, week 2. So this week, we're going to be using part 2 and part 3 of this experiment. And in these parts, you're going to be dealing with the same data set that we had last week. So if you guys remember, you made the copy of all of this data. and there is a student info tab. And if you went down here on the bottom, there was also the temperature data tab. And this is the main tab you're going to be working with for the second part of your experiment, the part that deals with temperature investigation. Now, some of the things it's going to ask you to do, and I'll go over them right now with you, is how to sort data, how to use a formula, how to make a histogram, and how to understand when data might be bad, when we can't really trust data. So first, let's go over sorting data. So we have all of this data here, and if we look at column B, we see that some of our data is in Fahrenheit, some of it's in Celsius, and it's all kind of jumbled together, right? So if we were trying to just compare all of our temperature data with each other, you can't really do that because you have these random numbers in here that are in Celsius. So if we were to try and just compare all of our data like that, making sure no one said anything in chat. So if we're trying to compare all of our data here, we'd be comparing apples to oranges, right? We have Fahrenheit and Celsius. So we're going to want to figure out how to sort our data so we can separate out these Celsius temperatures and these Fahrenheit temperatures. And to do that, and this is described in your lab manual, to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to select all of our data. So we're just going to left click on A, hold that down, and drag it over to select all of the data that we have. Once we select all of the data, we can sort through using a tool found in the Data tab. So we click on Data, and we go down to where it says Sort Range. If we click Sort Range, it'll open up this pop-out window. So when it opens out this pop-out window, it has this first little checkbox asking if the data has a header row. And a header row is just that first row that says what is under each row. So it says temperature, and under that it gives all the temperature. So that first row is our header row, and since we have that, we're going to go ahead and click that exists. And that tells the spreadsheet, that tells Google Sheets to not sort that first row and to only sort the values under that row. We're next going to decide what to sort by. So each of these in the drop-down menu that it gives you is a different column here in A through E, and it lets us pick which column we want to sort things by. So let's go ahead and sort the units. And if we go A to Z, that'll mean that anything in this column that starts with C will come before anything that starts with F. So if we sort that out, it'll move everything around and it'll give us all of our Celsius temperatures and then all of our Fahrenheits after that. Do we all see how I did that?
Yes.
Cool. So the next thing we're going to want to do, because we have all of these in Celsius and all of these in Fahrenheit, we're going to want to convert some of these temperatures from Celsius to Fahrenheit. So that way we have all of the same data from one place that we can compare to each other, right? So what we're going to do is select all of the Celsius data. I'm going to press Control-C to copy. I'm going to come over here to column G and paste it down. And this is basically going to be the first couple of steps in your lab manual. So all of these are temperatures in Celsius. And we're going to want to convert these to temperature in Fahrenheit. So we're going to use a formula here. We're going to use Google Sheets formula system to convert all of these Celsius to Fahrenheit. We could, if we wanted to, go by hand and convert each of these individual data points, but I think there's like 50 of them. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to sit here and make 50 repetitive calculations. So using Google Sheets, I'm going to convert all of these Celsius to Fahrenheit. So do you guys know the conversion between Celsius and Fahrenheit? If I were to give you a temperature in Celsius, would you be able to convert it to Fahrenheit?
I don't remember the formula, but I know that the formula is in the spreadsheet.
The formula is, okay, so the formula is in here. It's under step 6 in your thing. I'm going to walk you guys through making the formula though. So we could press equal sign. And to convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit, what we do is we grab our Celsius data. So I'm just going to click on that. And it takes that value in cell G2. And with this value, we're going to multiply by 9/5. So we multiply by 9, divide by 5. And then once we have that value, we add to it 32. So you take your Celsius temperature, multiply it by 9/5, add 32, and that's how you get your temperature in Fahrenheit. Once we have that value, we have a formula that works, and we want to apply it to all of these Celsius temperatures. To do that, we're going to take our mouse cursor and hover it right over this, this little blue square in the bottom left of the cell, or bottom right of the cell, sorry. And it'll turn into a crosshair. And once it turns into that crosshair, you're going to click and hold down, and you're going to drag it down to compute all of that data. And now we have all of our temperatures in Fahrenheit converted from Celsius. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. I think as you guys practice with making formula and stuff like that, it'll become more and more second nature. So as you guys practice, it'll get better. With the rest of these Fahrenheit temperatures, I'm just going to select them and I'm going to copy and paste them over. So right click, copy. Right click, paste. So now I have a column that is all of our temperatures in the same unit of Fahrenheit. Does that look good? So now that I have this, I'm going to select this column with all of the data that I want to have represented in a histogram. I'm going to use this data and I'm going to go insert. I'm going to insert a chart. Now it's going to automatically assume I want a histogram. It's not always going to do that. Sometimes Google Sheets suggest other options for your chart. Here it suggests histogram. If it doesn't, you can always select chart type, scroll all the way down, and under other, we have our histogram chart. It'll ask you for other things, such as do you want to switch rows and columns. There's no point in that for a histogram because it's just counting. It's going to ask you about data ranges and all that stuff. It should be automatically selected though, and it should be good to go. We can customize it. We can customize it by going histogram, and we can decide how big do we want our chart to be. Like how many values do we want in each quote bucket here. So we can change this and we can say I only want 10 for our bucket size, or we can decrease or increase the amount. And all this does is change like how big we're allowing our variations to be. So if it's bucket size 2, they'll say everything from 98 to 100 in that size of 2 degrees Fahrenheit is going to be put in the same column, in the same bar. If we increase that to 10, it's saying everything between 90 and 100 in that bucket size is going to be in the same column. And that's what bucket size means. We can also change our axes. So we can make our minimum axes something else, 45 for example, or we could change our axes to have a maximum of 90. So you could change the different things on this histogram chart to organize it the way you want, and you're going to have to do that for a couple of the charts that you're going to make. Now let's specifically look at this chart and think sorry, I missed someone in chat. So James said a couple minutes ago, the columns have names. So we check.
Like, these bitches are back again.
What's up?
Upstairs all the boy stuff. Bro, look at these Converse.
I think someone's unmuted that might not want to be unmuted. So James asked a little bit ago, posted the conversion factor. Yeah, so I don't think there's an actual question there, was there, James?
Oh, no, I was just making pointers.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so looking at this data, is there something wrong with it? What issues pop up when we look at this histogram?
Someone in chat said outliers. Edilbert?
Yeah. So we have some outliers. Thank you for catching that. I don't know why my chat's not popping up in this screen. Yeah, so outliers. We have these outliers at 200 degrees Celsius, Fahrenheit, right? That clearly cannot be correct. So what do we think happened there?
They could have just added an extra 0.
Could have added an extra 0. Well, let's try and find one of these data points, like right here at 210 degrees Fahrenheit. 210 degrees Fahrenheit corresponds to 98.9 Celsius. So we can assume that the issue here might not be necessarily that they added an extra 0. Instead, the issue, oh, go ahead.
Did they convert Fahrenheit into Fahrenheit again?
Well, I think what they did when they answered the survey that you guys were given is they put Celsius here instead of Fahrenheit. I think they meant to have Fahrenheit. Would be my guess. So they measured in Fahrenheit, but they wrote it down as though it were in Celsius. And this goes back to that issue of understanding when to trust data and understanding that there are going to be errors like this when we crowdsource all of our data. So we have these data points that show us 210 Fahrenheit. And as far as we know, that's not a valid data point, and we have to do something with this data point. So what would you guys want to do with this data point? You can write it out in chat. Would you want to keep the data point and have your measurements of temperature, including that 200 degrees Fahrenheit?
Can't we just ignore it since it's only that one point?
Yeah, so I think that is Gabriella. Says, let's just ignore it. It's one data point out of, I think, nearly 200 or a little over 200 data points. So let's just toss it out. Let's just throw it away. Let's not even worry about it. Let's take this whole row and delete it out. And that works, right? That's fine. We have a data point we know is wrong, and we don't want to make any assumptions about it. But I'm going to sort this data one more time. I'm going to go data, and sort range. And this time I'm going to sort by temperature Fahrenheit from lowest to highest. I already got rid of the data point. Okay, so now we have our temperatures, and we have someone measuring a temperature of 93.56. What do we do with this data point? It's not so obviously wrong like that 200 degrees Celsius data point was. But if you have a temperature that low, there's probably significant issues with something going on. So it's probably not too believable of a number, right? So maybe this came from measurement error. You know, maybe someone used a thermometer that wasn't quite accurate. So what do we do with this 93.56 data point?
Would we delete that one as well?
So this is where it becomes up to the discretion of whoever is performing this experiment. So you are all going to have to make the decision whether or not you want to keep this data point. If you want to throw it away, that's fine. It's probably pretty reasonable to assume that we can throw this one away. But what about these measurements of 96 Fahrenheit? That's still pretty low. It's getting to that believable point, but it's still pretty low. You know, and it's deciding where we want to make that cutoff, where we want to decide something is reasonable and we want to keep it, or where something is outlandishly wrong that we want to throw it away. You guys are going to have to come across, these situations at some point in your career, and you're going to have to make these decisions on your own about what to keep and what to throw out. So it's not so obvious to me whether or not to throw these data points out, or if they're just outliers, or what happened in this instant. Are there any questions or comments, any thoughts?
Yeah, for this class, how would you rule which data gets thrown out and which one gets included if it's something abnormal?
So going back to the goals of this lab, I'm trying to get you guys to develop these skills on when you want to do these things. There's no right or wrong answer here. There's an argument to be made both ways. So as far as I care, personally, I'm not going to deduct points if you keep it. I'm not going to deduct points if you throw it away. However, if you have these outliers, they are something you're going to have to explain. So why did you keep it? Why did you throw it away, you know? So justifying your action is important, but whether or not you keep it, that's up to your discretion. And I know you guys all probably love that answer, being so vague.
It makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions? So here's how the rest of this lab session is going to go. I'm going to put you guys into breakout rooms with your lab partners. And you guys are going to, I'm going to put you guys in breakout rooms with your lab partners. And you guys are going to use this time to make sure you all have good contact with each other. You're going to use this time to get started on your lab and come up with a good game plan for the coming days. And during this breakout session, I'm going to be visiting every group and making sure we all understand group roles and what those entail. If you guys have any questions, are we all familiar with the with how to do? I don't want these breakout rooms. Sorry. Are we all familiar with how to call for help on Zoom? How to use that feature?
I have no idea.
Okay, so when you guys are in your breakout room, you'll be able to see on Zoom a button that says call for help, and I think it's red, if I'm not mistaken. And if you press that red button, it will send a notification to me that you need a little bit of help. It's basically raising your hand. So why does it look like we have a lot of people missing still? So that's how you're going to get my attention if you need it during these breakout rooms. And once you guys are in your breakout room and after I come meet with you guys the first time, you can leave whenever you feel necessary. And James just raised his hand.
I was just testing.
So that's a little bit different. That I don't think will notify me from your breakout room that you need it. There is a specific call for help button that will do that though. And you'll see it when I put you guys in breakout rooms.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's not something you can see right now. And sorry, I'm just trying to get everybody in there. Wow, a lot of people are missing today.
How many people are supposed to be here?
I think closer to like 20. 24 is filled. Okay. A lot of you guys are going to have smaller breakout rooms. 2 of you guys are actually the only lab partners in your group. So I'm going to visit the groups that have just 1 person in their breakout rooms first, and then go to the ones that have only 1 person missing, and then end up in, I think, breakout room 2 and 3 to finish up the session. All right, I'll be speaking with each of you guys shortly. Jed? Is that how you say your name?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Are you usually in this section?
I just joined the class yesterday, actually.
Oh, right. Okay, so I'm gonna need to put you in a group. I'm gonna pair you up with, let's see. I'm gonna put you right here in group 6, and I'll be in this group shortly.
Okay, also I have a quick question.
Sure.
So like with the assignments that you guys have already done in the past 2 weeks, is there any way I can still do those or no?
So the first week, the only assignment was to create a PDF and submit it, and it was worth like 2 points, which is almost nothing.
Uh-huh.
I'll give you credit if you want to do it. I think it'll still let you submit it.
Yeah, because I'll definitely do the stuff that I've missed.
Yeah. Last week was an actual sort of lab that was due on Wednesday.
Uh-huh.
And you can do that, and you can talk to your lab mates about that. They just did it.
Okay.
And you can submit that to me a little bit late because you just joined, right? You emailed me.
Yeah, I literally joined yesterday.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so you can turn in past work if you want. Were you in a lab, another section?
No. It's because I have the lecture for the class, but I didn't realize that I needed the lab as well to
Yeah,
get credit for the class as a major.
yeah, okay.
So like, yeah.
All right. Yeah, you can turn in last week's lab too. It's right in the Blackboard page, experiment 1, week 1. You might have
Okay.
to email it to me, but yeah, you can still complete those.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. I'll see you in a little bit.
Alrighty.
Hello, Gabriella.
Yes, I'm here.
It seems as though none of your group mates came today.
Yeah. I believe Malik spoke to you or he emailed you from what he let us know. Yeah.
He I think had jury duty. I think was his.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. He didn't give his
Yeah.
reason, but he did tell us
Yeah.
that he emailed you. Yeah.
Yeah, he let me know.
Okay, cool.
Your other lab partners, were you in contact with them at all in the last week?
Okay, so let me just double check I get the names right. Yeah, so the only
August-
one that August, I don't know.
Augustin?
Yeah, Augustin, there we go. Yeah, so he's replying on the group me that we have set up. But he did say that since Zoom for lab wasn't mandatory, that it wouldn't be that hard. That's all that he said. He didn't say he was missing or anything. And as far as the other person on our group, I don't even think he's not even in the group me. He didn't accept the request.
Okay.
So, I believe I emailed you about that too.
Yeah. I think I sent him an email and I don't even think he got back to me. I wonder if he's still even enrolled. I have to check on that. Okay. So the fact that they're not here makes things just a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
What am I gonna do? Would you be all right just holding tight for like a minute or two while I go
Yeah.
ask another group some stuff?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah.
No, but like the other one.
Hello, group
Hello.
5.
Hi.
Breakout group 5. So 2 of you guys are here today.
Yes.
Any idea where your lab group members are? Have you been in contact with them?
Just with one other.
Yeah. Just with the Anthony guy, but he said that he had attended the earlier lab. So that's why he wasn't here.
He attended the earlier lab today?
Yeah, supposedly that he went to an earlier lab and that he did the entire like
graph.
data sheet. Yeah, that we did today. So he shared it with us in the morning.
I don't remember him being in like an earlier lab with another instructor. Is that what
I
it is?
have no idea.
I'm not too sure. I just know he said that he was in an earlier lab.
All right. I don't remember him
Yeah.
being there, but sure.
Yeah. And then the other guy hasn't like contacted us, and like all of our numbers and emails are on the blog, but
All right,
he
and
hasn't
this
like
is
said anything.
this is the Joseph Anthony's.
Yes. Joseph.
Yeah.
something.
So Anthony is the one that attended the other lab supposedly, and then Joseph hasn't like communicated himself.
Yeah. Okay.
So what does that mean?
I don't know. Can I put someone else in your group?
Like, so it'll be 4 now?
Yeah, replace Joseph with someone else.
Oh, okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if I can bring her in.
I have a question though. Can we still turn in the week 1 notebook? Because we were waiting for the other person to like input their solution into this problem.
Yeah, I'll let you guys turn in work a little bit late, especially this first week.
Oh, okay. Because we just
Okay.
needed this one last problem.
All right. I'll be back in like 2 minutes. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, Gabrielle.
Hello.
So how would you feel about working with a different group for this week? Would that be okay?
Yeah, that would be fine.
Just for the sake of getting you working with people that are showing up.
Okay. That sounds
Okay. Do you want? So I'm going to put you, and I'm also going to put, what was his name? Person that actually emailed me yesterday. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you, and I'm going to put
do you mean Malik?
Malik. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
going to put you two for this week in a group with 3 other people, so you'll be a group of 5.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, cool. Let me just put you over there. And
I think I already have.
Okay.
Oh no.
okay, hello.
Hello.
So here's how this is going to work out. So Gabriella and a fellow by the name of Malik are going to be in your group for right now, and it's just going to be a group of 5. Wait. 4? Wait.
No,
We're
there's
4
some
right now. The guy that attended the earlier lab, that would be 5.
Right. So do you want the guy that attended the earlier lab to be in your lab group for this week?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it's going to be a group of you 3 that are currently in this breakout session. The guy that attended the earlier session, which I don't remember him being there, but sure, I'll believe this. And a fellow who had to miss lab for jury duty. Is that all right?
So we'd have 5.
You have 5
For this week? Or for like always?
for this week, and depending on how you guys want to play it out, it could be 4 always. I don't mind either way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get you guys in a group that's here and working.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so I want you all to just spend a couple of moments making sure you exchange contact information, maybe making sure everyone is on the same wavelength as far as being able to communicate. And I'll be back a little bit later to describe group roles and all of that stuff. I just have a couple more groups to sort out. Sound good?
Yes.
Okay, and you guys can start on the lab if you want.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
So I don't want to mispronounce your name. So is it Yang
It's Young Young.
Yang?
Yeah. Sorry.
I'll do my best. I apologize if I butcher that.
It's alright.
So if I recall correctly, you're part of a group that requested to be together, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you guys have communication between the three of you?
Yeah. Yeah, we're good.
Okay, any idea where they are today or?
No, I don't remember, but
All right.
Dave contacted me.
Sure. So I don't want to break up your group because you guys clearly know each other.
Yeah.
So do you want to just work on this outside of lab with them? Or-
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Can I ask, what is your guys' class standing? Are you guys seniors, freshmen, juniors?
I'm a post-bac student.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. Then.
Yeah, and they are like seniors, I guess.
Okay, I trust
Yeah.
you guys can get this done then.
Mm.
That's not a worry for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to just make sure you guys all get the work done, that's fine. I'll give you guys full participation points. I'm not too worried about you guys.
Thank you.
I'm sure you'll all work well together. Is there any questions you have?
No, I'm good. Not yet.
Okay. Don't worry about group roles. If they come next week, we'll start doing them. Just make sure you get the lab done, and we should be on the same page. Sound good?
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
All right. Good luck, and
thank you.
see you later.
Bye.
Hello.
Hello.
So, group of two here. Have you guys had contact with your other lab partners?
Yeah. Funny thing is, the other two were already here, and we were already dividing up which roles were which. But they didn't realize that they were supposed to stick around until you made your rounds.
Okay. Did you guys decide on roles?
So our leader for this week is Adriana, and then I'm the group helper / cheerleader, and then the other two were recorder and whatever the fourth role is that I can't remember, but
Timekeeper.
timekeeper, yeah.
Right. Okay. So I'm just going to go through and kind of describe what each role does to you two. And Adriana, being the leader, is just going to have to communicate this to the other people if they don't quite understand what's going on. And then you guys are free to go whenever you want. You guys can stick around, work on the lab. If you have any questions, ask me. So, Adriana, you're going to be the leader, right?
She's relying on chat at the moment.
For sure. So what the role of the leader is making sure that everyone has their specific tasks to do and that it's divided up fairly and that everyone's voice is heard. So that means that it's your responsibility to make sure that everyone knows, okay, part 2, section like A, B, and C is James's responsibility. D, E, and F is going to be whoever else's responsibility. So making sure everyone has their specific assignments related to the lab. The timekeeper, because the way these labs are organized, sometimes there's going to be you have to do part A before you do part B, before you do part C. So there'll be a series of tasks that need to get done in a specific order. The timekeeper is responsible for making sure that the timeline works out. So like James does part A and it's done by this day so that there's enough time for Adriana to do part B, and making sure everything lines up and gets done in the end. So there's not like a mad rush at the end, stressing everyone out. So organizational skills are important for the timekeeper. The recorder is kind of the last person to work on the lab notebook before it gets actually submitted. So the recorder makes sure the lab notebooks has all of the information it needs, has all of the data, has all of the charts, has all of the questions answered. They're not necessarily answering all of the questions, but they're just making sure that there is an answer and it's on the lab manual or notebook, sorry. And then the helper just kind of helps out whenever there's a role that needs a little bit of assistance. So let's say that the recorder, Tuesday rolls around and the recorder, something comes up and they have a little bit of, they need a little bit of help getting everything together. So the helper will just pop in and provide a little bit of assistance there. Not necessarily doing the entire role, but just, helping out wherever it's needed. Does that make sense?
For me, I think it does. The helper is basically there to kind of fill the gaps whenever they're needed, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So to get full participation points, because I think, James, you were asking about this last week?
Yeah, I was concerned about the balance of groups because that's always seems to be an issue of you always have someone contributing more than the others and whatnot.
Yeah, and it's kind of the group leader's responsibility to make sure everyone is doing their part and everything's equally divided. And if there is a person that's not pulling their weight, you're just going to come to me and talk to me. And it's only in instances where I find out people aren't doing their part that I'll start taking away participation points. So really, participation points are easy to get as long as you act as a group and work together. And if you find out your group partners aren't pulling their weight, you really didn't just need to come talk to me. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah. Were we supposed to stick around to actually work on some of the lab, like during the lab right now, or because the other few thought?
No, you don't have to. Not mandatory. However, if you guys do stick around and work on the lab, then you have me here to just immediately come help you. So it's your choice on how you want to use this time. If you want to just leave early, you can do that. If you want to kick back and throw a Zoom party, hey, more power to you. But how you use this time, it's your time. It's up to you.
Okay, I'll leave that up to Adriana since she's the leader for this week.
Yeah, I've been suggesting to make sure everyone has a game plan before they leave. So know that, James is going to do these parts of the labs. Adriana is going to do these parts of the lab. Having that game plan set and in stone really helps get the ball rolling and making sure everyone's doing their part.
All right. Well,
All right.
Thank you.
No problem. So if you guys have any more questions and you stick around, you can just use the call for help button. Have you seen that yet? Have you located that one?
I didn't see that. Where is that in here?
So if you scroll down to the bottom, you should see a little toolbar that comes up. And if it's not immediately on that toolbar, there should be a sort of.
I see.
You see it?
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's at the bottom of the page, like you said.
Yeah. So if you press that, it'll send me a notification. I'll be here as soon as I can be. If I'm with another group, it won't be instantaneous, but you know.
All right, cool.
All right, sounds good. I'll see you guys later.
All right, see ya.